Asherlo. It'll be grand.
And welcome back, everybody, to Sure It'll Be Grand. We're a bit late this week due to real-life stuff. As always, we have the rule. Real-life stuff takes priority until this becomes a paying gig. But I hope you had a great week. Owen's here as well.
Yes,
How
I
are you,
am.
Owen?
Yes, I'm here. I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Good week?
Yeah, it was okay. It was fine. It's taken me till now actually to just digest the episode. I think.
Yeah.
Honest to God, between this and this week's House of the Dragon, I think my brain is melted.
Oh,
everything's exploding.
no, I am. So for me, I'm not as much of a Game of Thrones fan as other people think I should be. I've always had the experience like when I come home to like where Owen and I grew up, and we meet some of the lads from the school we went to, and they say, "Oh man, what do you think of the latest episode at the time like of Game of Thrones?" And I'm like, I don't know, man. I not really my thing. And they're always just bemused up to like baffled that I'm not into this show because I think it's fair to say most people who even slightly touched off of me in social circles are aware I'm quite geeky. But yeah, I don't know. Game of Thrones never really digged into it. But what I'm saying here is like, I don't hate the show, and I'm kind of waiting until this season finishes. And then I'll go back and watch it, in one nice chunk. Because I have a feeling if I try to watch it, I might just stop and move on once I get caught up.
Yeah, I mean, it's been nice watching it weekly, to be honest. It's very, very good. I will say that.
Yeah, no, I heard especially like episode 3 onwards, it gets very
especially
excellent.
episode, all of them.
Yeah.
This week's one was fucking nuts.
I watched the first 2 episodes, which I liked the first episodes, but they weren't like it wasn't that out there, to be honest with you.
Oh, it surely is now. Things are cooking in the world of House of the Thrones of Dragon game.
Oh, very good. But we're talking about another house. Not a house, a world. And that is the world of Middle-earth and beyond with Rings of Power. I think it's fair to say that even people who don't like Rings of Power, and that's fine, like this episode was a bit of a standout in general.
Small bit. Yeah.
Yeah, just a tad. Just a wee bit.
You could say the landscape has changed from here on in.
Yeah.
If one wanted to, they could say that. Not me
get
personally. I'd never stoop that low.
One thing we'll get there, but one comment about it. I talk about how it was scientifically inaccurate for how that worked, and I'm just like, all right, okay.
I mean, what? Why? Yeah, okay, man. Sure. Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's not how geology works. Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Aren't there also like laws about throwing stuff into volcanoes because just the kinetic change of energy can cause a bit of bubbling?
Again, I don't know. I don't know.
Really
I'm not a volcanologist. No. I don't care.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd say we should get into it.
We shall.
I mean, what the hell is going on?
So right off the bat, this is Galadriel. And Galadriel only. There are no dwarfs and no hobbits.
There are Arondir and Bronwyn also.
Yeah, but look, if we separate these things up into what storylines we're following, this is the Galadriel line that we're following.
Yeah, I mean those two stories have come together finally. It's the first instance of the various threads being woven into one another. You'd imagine going forward that's how most of it is going to happen as well. I think the rest of the stories will become part of Galadriel's thing to a certain extent.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, but it's mostly Galadriel. But I will say, I really have changed my mind on Bronwyn and Arondir. Like, I think we were saying at the beginning of these podcasts about this show, was like, was probably the more boring, and it felt like more flat characterization from this. And they definitely have grown. Like, I actually really like Bronwyn now. Like, there's actually something to him. Like, not Bronwyn, Arondir. There is something to him. It's not anymore the kind of flat sort of stoicness. You know, we see he cares about stuff. It's just how he emotes, and we actually see a little bit like emotional shit from him this episode as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with you there, to be honest. I think he's been like this since the beginning. Like he was the only elf of his company that I think has ever demonstrated that he thought of the humans they were watching as anything other than like potentially bad guys and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's a fucking
in the script he said it,
badass.
but he was very much like flat in the face about most things. Like, he's very much like cold, detached elf. He still has things that he thinks, hey, you know, we know what the things that he thinks should be done, and we see that he's kind of has a, you know, I was going to say a soft eye. That's not the term. But he has an eye for humans.
Just such lovely soft eyes, Arondir has.
We literally see him bubbling with emotion at certain times. You know, when Bronwyn and Arondir are like making promises to each other about the coming battle and saying like, we're going to make it through this, and you and your kid, Theo, we're going to move on from here, and we're going to be a family. And you have to promise me this. And he can't say it, but you know, he's overwhelmed by emotion.
Yeah, true.
We haven't seen him being overwhelmed by emotion. And but even then, even stuff like when we see him in the keep, and he's just showing, he's just showing Theo how to do archery better and all that kind of stuff. We start seeing, I think, a more connected elf. He's kind of been pulled down from the guy that looks over this local area to, you know, someone who's part of this. These people are now part of his personal story. They're not anymore, you know, like how elves are. They human lives are blink. Now he's kind of starting to live at our speed, you know, at human speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, but yeah, it's mostly a Galadriel story now. But we start off with Arondir and Bronwyn, and they're organizing, you know, trying to still survive in this tower. Adar is Adaring away. He's like getting his people and his orcs guard, the Urks. He has humans now on his side as well from the village, and he says some interesting things. He says he doesn't want slavery anymore for his people, his brothers and sisters. He doesn't want them to be enslaved. He wants the chains to be gone. Yeah. And that was an interesting one, because, as I said, are they going to make the orcs more sympathetic?
I think they were trying to, which I thought was really interesting. In that the scene where Adar, whatever the fuck, when he's giving like an impassioned like battle speech to the orcs and everything.
Also, just to be clear, not a battle speech as in he is their master. A battle speech as in he is, I fight alongside of you. He's at their level. He is talking about his brothers and sisters. It's almost Aragorn-esque.
It's very King Theoden, the Ride of the Rohirrim type. Like we will do this together. This is for we fight for our future and for our brethren and all this kind of stuff, which is really a really different perspective on orc people generally.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they've ever been shown. There's the odd like outlying case of like an orc speaking in the Peter Jackson movies and having some sort of a personality, but mostly they don't. They're mostly just cannon fodder, like
restaurant menus and that kind of thing. You know,
they do. Yeah, they mostly just like order
50%
just
we've
meat
known about
and
orcs
things
to
like
talk
that.
about.
But yeah, they're very It's I thought that was really interesting actually to see that and to see his perspective on what he's doing. I
think a big part of it though is he is a twisted elf. Now we feel like he genuinely cares about them, and as we've seen in the previous episode, like he gets emotional when some of them die, and they seem to genuinely care about him. This is not one of those things. Oh, he's the master, or it's convenient to keep him around because he's powerful. No, he is the only thing I've ever seen orcs care about.
Yeah,
you know?
They're certainly not being driven to this through fear or anything. Like, it's not like they're like, this is our lot in life now. We just get on with it. We just eat and kill things and do whatever we're doing. What the Dark Master tells us.
Yeah.
He's impassioned the orcs into believing in this cause, in a sense. Like he is genuine. Well, I don't know if he's genuine, but he is trying to. He has promised the orcs a home of their own, and that this is how they're going to do it. And you know, they'll finally have a place where they belong in the world and things like that, which is not how I ever thought I'd come to think of Mordor, to be honest.
And even he plants some seeds, which is very elvish, and it's to live, have life despite death, or something along the lines. When he's planting the seeds, that's what he's saying to them. So, like, we get to a little later on when he talks with Galadriel, with orcs, and we'll talk about it then. But it's some really interesting things with the orcs. I really adore it. Right. So we get a bit of a Helm's Deep moment. The orcs and the bad Southlanders come up to their tower, and that's where they flip it around. Because rather than trying to stay inside of their tower and defend, they let them in and trap them in the tower and try to kill them all while they're inside. With some there is some little iffy CG puppetry going on with some of the moves from Arondir and how he like closes gates and stuff. But again, I like what they do with his kind of elvish powers. Like, even though it's still fantastical, it's still stuff you expect. Like, yeah, if you had like 200 years to practice this, you could probably do this.
Yeah,
you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's and he kind of makes a point of that as well. Like, we always have this idea that elves are perfect and they just are naturally great at the stuff. But when he's talking to like Theo, says, "Yeah, no, I had to study like 200 years before I could shoot as well as I could do now." And it's just like, I love that. Again, they're kind of dragging elves and orcs all into kind of like more realistic positions of what they are in this world, you know?
Which I'd imagine a lot of people are not going to be happy with.
No, they're not. But I mean, look, I understand. Look, I think when we were kids and we watched the elves in Lord of the Rings and Legolas doing his cool shit on elves and all, we thought, that's cool. Elves are cool. This is what elves do. Fair enough. But I kind of like a little bit more personalization, and especially because Tolkien himself had a big problem with orcs. He had this whole issue about, I don't know if I want them to be corrupted, if they're corruptible. I don't know if I want orcs to be made by Melkor, because he's like, Melkor can't make things. Doesn't have the power of creation. So he didn't want to create a species that was completely not redeemable. Like, that was a big thing about him. And I think this show kind of tags that line a bit.
Yeah, well, we know where they've landed. We know which draft of Tolkien's notes they've decided to base the orc history on.
But the really cool shit about that, though, is that, yes, they do, but when later on, we'll get to when Galadriel is talking to Adar, they bring up both points that Tolkien had and ideas he had about the orcs, and there's almost a discussion as if, hey, let's talk about the theories about the orcs, you know? But anyway, look, we'll move on from there. I feel like a quarter of their army gets wiped out of the tower for this like one cool maneuver. Something like that. Like it's a decent chunk.
A considerable amount of them.
Yeah.
The humans are surprised, I think, that any of them would have survived it, to be honest. It's a pretty big collapse.
Yeah,
pretty big tower falling down.
Yeah, and the humans are at the bottom and they're looking at this happening. I'm still wondering, why did you stop to look? You probably just should have just gone no matter what. Like,
just not very cool.
B, you know?
They're not cool people.
They
cool people don't.
Flaws.
If they were cooler, they wouldn't look back.
Explosions.
Yeah.
Anyway, they head back to their village, which is completely empty, and we see people are terrified, and Arondir does a Aragorn as well. Aragorn kind of Helm's Deep-ish, like, you know, I will fight along with you, and I promise you will see the next day. You know, that it's really great to see him being passionate. Maybe that's what I meant more. That he wasn't really passionate in previous episodes, but here we actually see it. It's outwards, and it's maybe he realized, no, you know what? Humans are thick. They don't see passion if you're not like projecting it. So I better start putting it out there.
Yeah, I think maybe he's if he were like, even when like a little bit later when he meets other persons of his kin, you can see there's a lot more of like unspokenness happening between them, where they both seem to like garner. It's just a lot of like kind of looks and nods and sort of things.
Just kind of look at each other for like,
like
2 seconds.
Things not being said, and I think maybe that's fine between elves. Arondir now is like, I'm actually gonna have to use words with these people. You're gonna have to like
spell it out to these
have to actually tell them what I'm feeling. They're not just gonna pick it up by looking at me.
But again, I kind of like it as well because, you know, I mean, he wasn't exactly angelic looking before, but like the rougher he's had it, like where his clothes get dirtier and he gets grimier, the more human he's getting. I kind of dig that as well. And maybe that's the whole talk about, we see later on with Halbrand and Galadriel, and they're both sitting down and they talk about how fighting alongside each other as humans and elves, if they could keep that energy and make it a part of themselves, like, they'd love that. So there seems to be this natural draw for elves and humans to be in an alliance. And we know that they'll have to be again in an alliance.
No, they will.
And
we know they will, yeah, certainly.
Yeah. But we already see bits of it in this one, I think. But yeah, so they get the village ready. We kind of should pop over to Galadriel. Galadriel is on the boat. I think it's some of my favorite things in the show is the writing in this episode, because I understand for audiences on TV, we can't always have 100% like flowery language. There has to be a lot of modern talk there as well. But Galadriel and Isildur are talking about each other, and I just genuinely found the lines kind of beautiful, because one thing Isildur says is like, I want to get away from here. That's not the real Numenor anymore. He says, what does he say? I was just trying to get away as far as I could from that place. Numenor? It is not Numenor, not the real Numenor anyway, if it ever existed. And Galadriel says, it exists still, if only it has the lowliest stable sweep. Because we get this lovely line as well that, hey, just because you're a stable sweep, that's not a bad thing, because humility has saved entire kingdoms, and pride has just about ruined most other kingdoms. And like, it's such a Tolkien way of talking, and it actually gave me chills when it happened.
Yeah, it was nice, I guess. I get I understand what you're saying. I mean, I agree with the points that Galadriel was trying to make. I think it was a bit I'm not sure how to describe it, but because of the fact that she was talking directly to Isildur, who I mean, he's not a stable hand, right? Like he isn't just some dude who's brushing the stables. He's fucking Isildur. So it felt it was a little bit pointed to me, in the sense that it was kind of like, I don't know if they were going for some sort of foreshadowing thing, and I guess that's probably what they were doing. They're, you know what I mean?
It's not foreshadowing though for us.
No, but but as in like they're.
Yeah.
It felt pointed just because it was Isildur she was saying it to, because like we know where he ends up. We know what Isildur is going to do. Like do you know what I mean? He's a king.
Yeah.
Or he will be soon.
I agree with you to an extent. Just to quickly say, but I'd say as far as I think because we do know what's going to happen, this is less of showing the virtue of who Isildur can be, because really nothing he says really shows that he is more to the eye. I think it's more about to show like Galadriel knows her shit. Like Galadriel.
Oh yeah,
sees him,
you know? I think most likely. She also gives us our first direct comparison between the eyesight of a human being and an elf.
Yes. We should just have a section for this fucking episode.
I'm gonna be watching out for more comparisons like this in every single episode from now on. Okay, I need specifics.
As good as I can see a pilot in his plane on Middle Earth right now.
That's what he's gonna say. Somebody's gonna say it. I'm just waiting for it. Somebody's gonna walk out with a fucking scouter on and just look at Galadriel and go, she's put all her stat points into eyesight, like most elves. Elves get an automatic plus 20 to perception checks. And it's like, sure.
I do like the little talking bits between Galadriel and humans though, because I mean that's always been kind of what Galadriel was about. Even like in Lord of the Rings, she's this like arguably the most high and mighty elf lady you'll ever meet, but she's always like looking at like humans and dwarves and hobbits and going like, nah, you're good too. Like she seems to like, because I mean a big part of her story is just like she has basically put the middle finger up against like the biggest, massive, most famous elves in history, but she sees the value in people like Gimli, who's just this humble dwarf. And I like that they're touching on that in this as well.
I would say that's it's the strongest glimpse of that Galadriel. More so than it's one of the only instances so far where a lot of them in previous episodes have been, and in this too is when she speaks with Elendil, and it's a showcase of the other side of Galadriel and perhaps what she not only what she will be someday, but what she probably is now, if she could ever manage to put down her crusade kind of thing.
She's twisted up as fuck, and we really see it in this episode. Like, you know, even later on, we see she is messed up on this. She is not in her natural state.
No, not at all. She's fucked, man.
Yeah, she wants to just make little paper boats and put them into the river. That's her thing, you know.
That's what Galadriel's. That's her life choice. I mean,
isn't that basically what she does in like the Lord of the Rings when she sees off the lads, puts them on a boat, like, off they go?
World's greatest paper boat builder. That's what Galadriel would spend her hundreds of years learning. Yeah,
but they'd be fucking amazing. You think why would you waste your time and then you see this stuff she does and goes, okay, never mind, this is actually pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, fine. It's a worthy cause, Galadriel. You go for it. All right, you deserve it.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll flip that. Well, she talks to Isildur's father. Okay, go on.
Just while we're on the topic of Númenóreans and on boats, how big are those boats?
Okay, no, I David, who is on Sure It'll Be Grand, had a post up about this, and
where is it? How big are those boats?
Yeah, like really big underneath the water. That's what's going on.
They're like submarine. It's like an iceberg situation underneath the boat. Because genuinely, even when Galadriel is talking to Isildur, there's nobody else around. It's like just the two of them standing on the prow of the boat. It doesn't look that big. Like they're not massive ships, and they explicitly were only sending 5 of them, and then one got blown up, so maybe 4. Like,
and again,
and she said 500 men.
Blown up really, because like was it just explosive wine in like a deck?
It was oil, I think. What your man said, wasn't it?
But like,
oil. Why they got so much oil with them? Anyway, there's 500
they just
men.
Love their Caesar salads. They need to have that fucking sprinkle.
There's supposed to be 500 soldiers and 500 horses on these boats, right? Which even like across 4, if it was across 5 boats, there's still 100 dudes on any one boat plus horses and supplies and weapons and like.
Yeah, we see the same because Isildur like shares an apple with one of the horses, which is weird, but never mind. But yeah, he shares an apple with, and like there's what 12 horses we see in that stable at most.
Yeah, it has to be a multi-deck tiered system thing going on.
It's fine. It's fine. It's something the elves taught them. It's grand.
Look, I mean, they are people of the sea. I'm sure it's fine. They figured this out.
A second ago, we gave out about the fucking volcano. Let's get some. I think this is where the CGI butcher they went. It's not worth putting out another 100 boats. Look, we'll just work with. They know we're traveling. There's boats there. Let's move on.
All right, okay, I'll put down my sword just for this one. But I want everyone to know I am still thinking about it, okay?
Yeah, no, it'd be just some fucking elvish bullshit. Like, and they're just like asking, how will we bring the horses with us? There's no way. I'll show you. And then it just swipes forward, like, wow, that really worked. How did you do it?
What an incredible plan, Galadriel. Thank you for your teaching.
Anyway,
I've got it. The boats are actually made of paper, just as Galadriel is famous for making, and it's a fold-out situation.
Yeah, no, she's folded the boats with wood. No, it's still wood, but she's folded in a certain way.
Yeah, wood, paper, they're all from the same source. She's folded them, all right, and then when they land, they unfold, and all the horses are like, "Oh, cool, that was nice."
And you just have like a scene where like the Numenorians are just like, the magic of elves.
Those crazy, crazy elves, huh?
Yeah. Anyway, so they're getting ready to defend the village. This episode does a lot of like, hey, we're the Lord of the Rings universes, There's a lot of it. It's like how the tower collapsed as well early on was pure like Sauron defeated, like inner collapse, rubble flying out sideways. Very much at least the tip of the cap to it. In this, we have Theo going, hey, I can fight. All right, calm down, Eowyn. Chill out here.
Yeah, listen, Theo, man, just relax.
Yeah, and then he says, Ma, can you tell me what you used to say as a kid? And we just get two Samwise Gamgee speeches put into one. One is about this passing shadow, and the other one is about seeing the stars and seeing that there are some things that even the darkness cannot touch. So we get these like this mismatch of them. And look, I like these things, but if anything in the show drew me out of the fantasy of it, it's hearing the quotes coming back again and again. They're just being referenced. It's a little bit. It's the laziest thing the show is doing, in my opinion.
Look. In terms of those scenes, the one between Arondir and Bronwyn when they're alone, and he gives her the seeds, and he talks about an elven tradition of planting life before death.
Which, by the way, must be a tradition that started on Middle Earth because they didn't have a concept of death. So when they talk about it, must be fairly new in their culture, like.
Yeah, and that scene, right? Listen, I'm famous around these parts for a man who likes a bit of romance in his things, all right? I love it. It's one thing I'll always say, never just put a bit of more romance in it. Let's go, right?
Listen to a Princess Diary.
We didn't do the Princess Diary.
Which one did we do?
Christmas Princess or whatever. The fucking Vanessa Hudgens Princess trilogy on Netflix. Whatever the fuck. I don't know. Can't remember right now. I'm talking about Lord of the Rings.
We can only contain these two elements.
I can't do I can only focus on the Lord of the Rings or other things at any one time, right? That's it.
That's fair.
Okay. Anyway, that scene was it wasn't necessarily what they were saying, right? I think it was the soundtrack. The soundtrack that was going on with this sweeping romantic violin score thing happening in the background. They kept like swelling and rising when they were like holding hands and stuff. And I was like, it was a bit cliche. It was very, very like it was very like black and white, like 40s romance movie when you just like, you want the moon, I'll throw a lasso. It was kind. I was just like, I mean, it's not.
You see this tree? There used to be a val. I looked after the trees. You see? And she.
You see, the secret brown wind is you gotta plant the seeds before the battle. But it was like, I just thought, not that I'm against that. It just felt a little bit out of place with everything else that was happening. I was kind of just sitting there going, oh, they really, just for this one scene, they really leaned into it was the score in particular, I think, was very overly dramatic in places or something.
And we see Arondir blubber a bit as well, you know, that kind of stuff, you know. There's a lip quiver going on here, like. Anyway, battle commences. It's in the dark. Theo is inside the hut with the elderly and the sick and the children, and the village has to defend. And I think the orcs were surprised there was any kind of resistance, because they just kind of came all together. Well, looking at the orcs.
So the townsfolk's plan works, but so does the orcs, I guess. Is the way I'm looking at it.
They do a weird thing with hay being rolled down a hill and things blowing up, and then they shoot whoever's left, and there's a big old battle. We're made painfully aware, by the way, at this stage, by Arondir having a battle with an orc, that, did you know orc blood is black? It's black for 10 minutes, dripping on your face. It's black, all right? Did you get that?
I have to say, I was actually, the thing that shocked me about that scene, and a lot of this episode, was the gore. Yeah. Like, it's not as fucking disgusting looking as Game of Thrones presents things like that. But I was quite surprised at the amount of blood and horrific injuries and things happening to people.
And it was 99% well done. I say 99% because we saw the blood dribbling and the slicing. But there's one moment where I think someone hacks down on one of the orcs, and there's a splash of the most FX blood ever put onto screen. And it's like, okay, calm down. But yeah, the battle, and we see the spike being pulled out of this orc's face because he's about to use it to impale. And to be honest, right, I know, I've watched movies, I watched TV shows, I know he was going to be saved in the last moment, but they really dwelled on that last moment over his face for a very long, when Arondir's on his back against the well, and the orc is just pushing it down and pushing it down and pushing it down, and then he's like, okay, now she's going to come out of nowhere and hit him with a frying pan or something, something like that. But then it just continues and continues and continues. And I'm like, are they going to have him lose an eye? Are they going to go really show how much divinity arguably he has lost?
I honestly think, because it does go on. You're right. It is quite drawn out, that instance. Yeah. I was thinking about it. I think for a show like this, for the writers, it's difficult, probably, considering most of the main cast are established characters who we know have a future and have lots of things to accomplish that they must accomplish, unless you're going to throw whole heaps of stuff out. Isildur, Galadriel, Elrond, even Durin, they can't die or really get considerably injured or anything. So you have to have something. I think maybe, I honestly thought, because I was thinking about it as it was happening, I thought they were actually going to kill him.
Yeah.
I honestly, I thought he wasn't going to get saved, maybe, and Arondir was going to die, as a way to really drive home how serious these things have become, because they can't do it with any of the rest of the characters. They can't,
no, really.
Isildur's not going to, we know Isildur and these people, they're not going to die. It's not like Isildur's not going to lose a limb or anything either. We know that they have places to go.
And the son of the king lifted the blade off his father because he has a prosthetic by the elves.
Galadriel made one out of paper for him. It's we know that stuff is not going to happen, really. Even we know these people survive until they at least accomplish what has to be done. So it's maybe, I don't know. I thought maybe they were going to kill him. They didn't. Obviously, he does get saved.
I think we are going to have a tragic ending for Arondir and Bronwyn. I mean, they are star-crossed lovers, the epitome of that. you know.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, she saves him, and they win the battle. Some people have died and they're a little bit upset, but in general, he walks around and says, "Oh my God, I was lying against that well for a half an hour, but you did it, lads. Fair fucks." And then he notices blood. Did you know orc blood is black?
I didn't, but I do now.
Yes.
After this instance, after this episode.
Yeah. But he sees one of the bodies and there's red blood coming out underneath, and he realizes, he opens the mask, and I think other people around him starting to check as well, and they are the fellow villagers that joined Adar, and they've basically killed their own people, and a house divided amongst itself cannot stand, you know.
Yeah, well, this is what I was saying about how the villagers' plan to defend the village worked.
Yeah,
essentially, sort of. Like, it worked. They defeated their invaders and they were happy. But Adar had a plan as well. And his plan also worked until certain things arrive with the dawn. But
there's a part of me that wonders, like, when the humans were fighting the humans, the bad humans, do you think they may have just, like, as they were realizing they were losing the battle, no, wait, hold on. It's me. Sorry. I think we can actually fight them now, depending how you've been doing here. Can I be on your side again?
Yeah, it's a strange one. It's like, I mean, in fairness, I didn't see it coming when it happened.
Yeah, I was completely blindsided by it, yeah.
But yeah, when you really think about it, it is strange that none of the cowardly menfolk who sided with the orcs, like, not one of them, like, begged for mercy or, like, shouted out or, like, said anything in the midst of battle. Or, do you know what I mean? They were just, and there were some orcs with them. We saw actual orcs being killed, and a lot of them, to be honest, like, it's not like they were all men.
Oh, I say it was like 50-50 Southlanders and then orcs. Like,
I don't even know if it was 50-50, to be honest. Like, it's I don't know. It was, I get it. It was, I think, more so as well designed to just kind of, just to dishearten the townspeople as well, to be honest. But at the same time, in all honesty, if Adar had just sent all of his force at the village, I think they would have crushed them.
Yeah, but I know why they didn't. Because they already walked into a trap once. Why would they do it again? Send some of the...
Yeah, true. And I guess if this was regular orc depictions that we were used to, their leader wouldn't have hesitated to throw them into another trap, to be honest. It would have just been but I guess Adar actually cares about them.
It's a psychology thing. And it's also a psychology thing. Because, like, they're going to kill some of their own people now, and they're going to realize it.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So I understand. It's still weird that none of the villagers went, "Hey, it's me." But to be fair, those villagers were also assholes, so maybe they weren't that great of friends anyway. To the village in the first place. So we find out it's a trick, and a whole bunch of orcs are on the way, and they all run into the house because they are being shot down by arrows, walking very slowly in slow motion, by the way, into the house. Like, some of those people didn't have to die. It's like, lads, come on. Just like you see, like, Arondir, and he's shuffling a little bit when he's, like, carrying Bronwyn, who was shot in the back through the shoulder. But yeah, so first of all, Bronwyn's not good. They try to heal her. Apparently there's no King's Fall and weird elvish prayers that could help her this time. It's funny, but they eventually, like, she is actually the one that figures out how to save her, which is, seal the wound, get a bit of fire, and, like, clog it up. And I think they use some of the seeds as well from the tree, in the bloods. They're mixing in like a balm or something. Something's crushed into it. Like.
Yeah, I think it was just to seal the wound. To be honest, he makes like a mushy paste out of the seeds and some blood, and then he puts it in, and they, like, sear it with fire to like close it properly.
And then she loses consciousness for a while. They kind of think that she's dead, and she makes it through. Again, that's something I saw people complain about online, saying, "Oh, now she's dead, and now she's alive again. What the fuck's going on?" It's like, do you know about dramatic tensions?
Have you? Yeah. What did you? At what point did she die? Like, when are you?
Yeah,
That would have been covered
it
a
was
bit
just
more in the
like
show.
next to her, like a Middle Earth doctor going, yeah, she's past that 1600
Time
hours.
of death. Yeah, we like nobody. She's not. We don't see her. If she died, if she was dead, like there would have been a bit more of a commotion, I think, in the room.
Yeah, and sure, maybe she looked like she was close enough because she was, and her blood pressure's probably not the best, with half her blood on the floor.
She's pretty tired, I'd say.
Yeah. But eventually, Adar comes in. There's a bit of a scuffle at first, but like they basically grab everyone, blades to the throat, and says, "Where's the blade?" And I don't think anyone in the world can blame Theo for saying, like, because they start killing people, saying like, "Tell us where the blade is. Tell us where the blade is." And Theo says, "I know what the blade is. It's there." And to be fair, I know everyone kind of looks and says, "Oh, Jesus, you shouldn't have said that." But afterwards, Aaron Deere seems very much like, dude, like, what were you meant to do, really?
Yeah, like, nobody can blame him except himself, I guess.
Yeah.
He seems torn up about it.
Yeah.
Probably,
but
yeah, well, no. Yeah.
And then we muster the Rohirrim, because you start hearing, and honestly, when they're at the top of the hill at one stage. Okay, so here's an interesting imagery thing I noticed. Things are quite dark right now. It's the nighttime, and orcs obviously don't like the sun. When the Númenóreans come over the hill, a lot of sun iconography, especially on her crown. So, like, even though the sun's not there, the sun is still an ill omen towards them.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, like, they come in and they do amazing battles, and Galadriel does the Legolas jump thing about on horses, where she can just like swing all around them, and she's amazing. And Halbrand saves Elendil. It's a whole thing. It's really gorgeous in battle. We see all the horses running in line, and we're thinking of Rohan. We're thinking Muster or Rohirrim more than anything. I think it's fair to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the most movie we've got so far.
Yeah.
Like, this is the most, like, and even when Isildur's like hanging out with the queen, and he's like, "Can I go down there? Can I go down there? Can I go down there?" And she goes, "Yeah, go on." The first few notes of the music starting felt like the Rohirrim soundtrack. Like, they're definitely referencing music with this music. Like, we know that the general music for the show was made by the guy who worked on the Tolkien movie, but then the rest of it was made by third parties. But in general, like, this is when I started jumping up and started clapping, because I was like, "Oh no, this is the same feeling." Like I've said before, I really enjoy the show, but it doesn't exactly get to the heights of the Lord of the Rings, but it tickles it, which is nice. This full on scratched the itch of the movies for me when the battle commenced. This was a gorgeous way to do a battle. It felt heavy. It felt passionate. It felt like, fuck's sake, thank God there's a little less cynicism, and there's now some heroes here who will defend you by any means possible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think my brain broke. I think I'll be honest with you. I spent much of this thinking. We spent so long sitting here discussing, like, I wonder who Sauron is. I wonder if that guy is who he really is supposed to be. I wonder if this elf is actually this other elf from the books. And my brain wouldn't come out of that mode of watching this thing. At one point, I sat there. The Númenóreans were like arriving. They hadn't arrived yet, so kept like cutting back to the Númenóreans just riding through fields, and it looked like it was daybreak. Where then you go back to the village and it was the middle of the night. Yeah. And my brain was like, they're going to arrive too late, or something else has happened. The multiple fucking timelines things. The people in the village, that actually happened like 15 years ago. And Theo is actually Halbrand. And when he was talking about the stuff, and my brain just was
cool, actually.
I was they actually got there and saved everyone and went, "Please, shut up, brain. Stop thinking about everything in this show like it's a big mystery, all right? We're allowed to just have heroes come and save the day."
Yeah. But goddamn, was it good, though. Like, this felt awe-inspiring. I think that was the best fantasy battle, at least emotionally, that I have seen on television.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah. I mean, look, this is the thing about Game of Thrones. I don't know. I haven't tuned as much into it. On television, for me, this is some of
It's
the
not.
best.
It's not. It didn't even come close to the Battle of the Bastards, to be honest with you.
Do you think?
Oh no.
Okay, fair enough. I won't say anything because I think people will.
It was
get rid of me.
good. It was good. I liked
Yeah.
it, but I'm not with you on the level of awe.
Okay, fair enough.
To be honest.
That's grand. What do you guys think? Was it as good? Was it less good as the Battle of the Bastards? Let us know. Because I don't really want to argue with you. You know, I think this is very much a feelings based thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's better than that last battle in Game of Thrones, though. The one that was all shot in the night. You saw nothing.
I could see.
Yeah, you.
I could see.
Yeah, Elvis. Is it Elvis? Galadriel loved that battle. She was just watching. Like, what's wrong, you guys? It's great.
House of the Dragon actually this week really solidified itself as a Game of Thrones TV show because there's massive complaints that everything was too dark and nobody could see anything. Because they shot a bunch of scenes. They did day for night, so they shot a lot of scenes in the daytime and then edited them to make it look like nighttime. Now everyone's saying it was too dark; they couldn't see anything.
Yeah,
typical Game of Thrones fashion, baby.
Yeah. We should probably head a bit further into the plot quickly. We have some nice scenes after the battle with Elendil and his son Isildur, and it's almost Aragorn-esque, where they kind of petting. We'll go to what Galadriel's up to and chasing whoever in a second, but like we get this feeling it's very Aragorn like. He's talking to the horse and like saying, to calm down. They make a point that, hey, your horse knows that you're fucking shitting yourself, and he's like, no, it can't. Yes, it can. And I don't know. There's definitely a lot of like that Dunedain vibe going on there. And he said, where did you learn how to like speak to your horse? And it's like your mother. And we also learned that his Isildur's mother died in the sea, which must be really hard for Elendil with the whole the sea is always right.
Yep, he's always right.
Yeah.
Don't think maybe he doesn't say that to his kids. Dad, Mom is dead. The sea is always right, son. All right, she deserved to die.
Yeah. But we'll go over to what Galadriel's doing. Just before Galadriel comes onto the scene and has to go after Adar. Adar talks to one of his human, the innkeeper, and says, "I have a task for you." And then it cuts, and we see Adar trying to escape after Arondir tells Galadriel, "Yeah, follow him. He has a blade. It can't be brought back to bad people. Go, Galadriel, go." And she's like, "All right, whoever you are, you low-level piece of shit, I'll go and get him." And we almost got like a reverse scene of when the ring-rafts chase Arwen in the Fellowship. But this time, it's the good guys. And like, Galadriel says the same things to the horse, like in Elvish, to basically, "Hey, speed up. Go on, faster. Right."
Yeah. Get to fuck, will you?
Yeah.
That's the direct translation into English.
Yeah. Halbrand somehow catches up.
That man can move.
Yeah, and goes ahead as well.
Fight.
He
Too many things.
Yeah. And he comes back and he knocks down... he trips the horse with a spear. And he has Adar at the spear point and it's like, "Do you remember me?"
Oh, it's so...
And we're all just like...
It's fucking... It's Thanos and Scarlet Witch from Endgame, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But
you took everything from me. I don't even know who you are.
But I think it goes also because at this stage they know we're like having theories and all that. And everyone's just like... Because I think Adar and this also talks about how he killed Sauron later on. Like, so we're at this point where we're looking at him in the spirit, like, "Do you remember who you..." And like Adar kind of starts guessing, like, "Did I kill someone you loved? A wife?" And then he kind of like says stuff about, he's going to say a husband. Like the people who hate this show going to hate it even more. Going to mention like LGBT stuff.
Yeah.
Like, "Not in my mother." But no, he mentions, "Is it a child?" And we start seeing like, yeah, there could have been something there. Maybe he had a full family with kids and everything, and Adar killed him. And Galadriel comes in, voice of reason, says, "Look, we need to question him. This is not how you're going to feel good anyway. This is not the right kind of revenge.
Yeah, real fucking rich coming from Galadriel at this moment
In about
time.
5 minutes
And
time.
yeah, in the next scene, she's going to be on the exact opposite side of that fucking coin.
Yeah.
Like, what, of all people to be, preaching how revenge isn't going to fix everything. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. But I suppose in a way you could argue, like, it's in the forefront of her mind. She's probably constantly telling herself, no, I don't need revenge, but I need to do this. So there is this inner conflict. So maybe, like, the only reason she knew how to say it is because, like, she's reminding herself that the whole time. And then she gets stuck in, then she does the same thing anyway. Because she's a broken person. Adar is very, like, he gets captured, put into a shed. I think it's in the same shed where they found the blade in the first place, buried underneath it. And he's quite chill, and he's kind of like lovelorn and sort of melancholy. And we have this kind of debate about where orcs are from. And Galadriel says, well, legend says that the original orcs were elves that were twisted. And he goes, excuse me, it's Uruk. I'm an Uruk.
Yeah, we
prefer
the term Uruk. It's more culturally sensitive. Thanks.
Yeah. So he, like, for all intents and purposes, it seems now, he is what we understand is an orc. He's the first generation orc. The elves that were twisted by Melkor into these twisted beings. So by their canon, if anytime you see orcs in the future, they are the twisted descendants of elves.
Yeah, it's actually interesting to me because I don't think I ever really thought in much detail about what, like, specifically it meant that an elf was, like, corrupted and turned into an orc or whatever. Yeah. I guess I never really, it hadn't come into my mind that, like, the first generation of them would have just been elves that were, like, bad dudes. Yeah. Like, I guess it was just,
missing link.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I was kind of like putting them in, is it, like in the Uruk-hai are just, like, boiled in a pit by Saruman come into being.
Yeah,
they so like they just they just like Melkor just grabbed a bunch of elves and threw them into a big pot of stew and they came out as an orc. Like I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of where they talk about it as well. Like the Lord of the Rings takes the whole idea of taking them from the dirt and the soil, but like Tolkien never really explicitly spoke about how they were made in the modern day. And I mean, we do get mentions of sisters with orcs, so they are definitely female orcs. They probably just reproduce like humans do and elves do. Just
I'd assume at a much faster rate.
Yeah, and probably having also like with sex with like wild men as well, and not being picky on who they mix into their ilk, because they're like a poisonous species. But he also makes a point that they're all children of the light, even the orcs. Like their origin is still from the original, and that's Tolkien's whole problem. He wanted to make it so that they were beyond redemption, but at the same time he says no, they can't be beyond redemption if they're from the light of Elendil. And that's why I love how much they play with the orcs this episode and previous episode. That they are twisted monsters, but there is good in them.
Yeah. Not the light of Elendil. Elendil, not him.
Oh, sorry. Uru. Light of Uru.
Iluvatar?
Iluvatar, sorry. Sorry. Uru. No, Uru.
In all of this, all along, Elendil created the orcs.
No, but it's not even that. I'm just talking about like every single sentient species in Middle Earth comes from Iluvatar originally. The light of Iluvatar made them.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So I find it interesting. He kind of looks down Galadriel and says, "Yeah, I mean, you might hate my people, but they are still holy people, as everyone else in the world is." And then Galadriel's like, "I'm gonna kill them all and keep you alive, and I'm gonna slit your throat."
Yep.
That's basically it.
And then she tries to kill him.
Yeah, and then
immediately.
Then over. Excuse me, Lady Galadriel, you can't do that.
Revenge is remember what we just talked about, Galadriel?
I really want like a good cop, bad cop, like cop buddy Serious just with them.
Halbrand and Galadriel, they're just constantly stopping each other from murdering things.
Yeah, they're both the good cop and the bad cop.
Yep. And it's a
whenever the other one's bad cop, the other one's good cop.
Just depends on what day of the week it is. One of them is going to try and kill someone.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was kind of a nice deep dive into the theories about orcs in this conversation.
Do you believe him though?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe he killed Sauron?
Oh no, absolutely. Well, I mean, maybe a physical version of him momentarily. I wouldn't be surprised. At least I think he thinks he killed Sauron.
He maybe does. Yeah, maybe. I think I'm more convinced now than ever that what's happening with Elrond is part of Sauron's plan, because Adar mentions so basically that Sauron. So Galadriel was right. First of all, Sauron took all his fucking people to the far north, and he started, I guess, like experimenting, and like he was trying to find, as Adar phrased it, he was trying to forge something that would basically let him like unite Middle Earth under his banner or whatever.
He talks about him actually in quite awe, because he wanted to perfect Middle Earth. He wanted to structure it. He wanted to make it work efficiently.
Yeah.
Like Adar, even though he seems to hate Sauron, or at least hates the idea of being considered to be Sauron, still talks of him in a certain level of respect.
Yeah, I think he grew to hate him is the thing, because Sauron was using orcs and that as like experiments sort of thing. He was like
and slaves,
and he was pulling pieces of them and experimenting on them and torturing them and stuff like that to try and figure out the thing. Yeah. And then Adar says there was
just to say to Adar, these orcs are just elves as well.
Yeah, he's wrong though. They're not elves. But he Adar says they're not. But he says that something was missing. There was a piece missing that Sauron needed, and some piece of the dark spell that wouldn't reveal itself to him or whatever.
Of the invisible world as well.
The unseen world is basically, he was trying to forge something of the unseen world. It's the mithril, right? It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be the mithril that he's got. That's what he needs to forge the rings to succeed in this plan that he has.
And we know the rings are connected to the unseen world as well.
Yeah.
Not just the main ring of power, but all of them. Like the ring rafts slowly move into that as they get older.
Yeah, so I definitely...
Even Galadriel has some connections to the unseen world.
So I definitely think whatever's happening with the mithril storyline is Sauron is pulling strings on that side of the world to try and get what he wants, basically.
Yeah. So we'll move on. This was a weird scene until the reveal for me. But so I didn't really catch the whole Adar telling the innkeeper to do a job for him. I should have realized what they were doing there. But Galadriel goes over to Arondir with the thing that Adar ran away with, the little package, what we assume is the blade. And he gives the blade to Adar, and doesn't give the blade back to Adar. Here you go, Adar. He gives it to Arondir, and Arondir looks at it and looks at Galadriel, and we're both like, I'm not sure what they're talking about right there in their eye fucking, but whatever. And then, we go to Theo, and Theo's quite upset what happened. It's great, his mother's life, but he's upset, and Arondir kind of goes over, well, why are you upset? It's not just I'm upset. I missed the blade. It gave me a feeling of power. So we get a vibe that anything that Sauron has kind of made in the past has this tempting power. Like, you feel it and you want it and you get addicted to it. Mm-hmm. Like the ring, like the blade. We also realize the blade just can't be destroyed. But he then says, don't worry about it. Hey, I got a little present for you. And he gives him the package of what we think is the blade. And we're just like, imagine if it was actually the blade. It'd be like the most fucked with it. Hey, this kid is addicted to this blade through dark sorcerer's means. Here you go. You treat yourself. Yeah,
but like that's not how he says it. Okay, he doesn't just go, "Oh, you missed a blade. Well, here you go, man. Now you have it back." He says like, "Well, then, put it all behind you. Like, move on from it. Like, bury the past, kind of thing." And Theo's like, "How am I going to do that?" And then he's like, "Here, use the thing that's causing you pain to." I think he's giving it to Theo so Theo can destroy it or something. Don't know what the plan is there. I don't know how he's going to do it. I also don't know why Galadriel gave it to Arondir in the first place. To be quite honest.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I think Galadriel and Arondir at this stage knew all of this was a bluff. I think they both knew by the time they actually had the package. They're elves. They just fucking felt it. They're terrible at Christmas time. They just know what's
I mean, Galadriel definitely opened it as well, right? Like, there's no way she just left it wrapped up. She surely opened it and went, "It's just a fucking hammer. It's just a little. It's just an axe."
Yeah. I definitely think that's it. They both knew, and that was also, I think, Arondir's way of going to Theo and saying, "Look, it's fine. We're going to move on from here because the blade is still out there, but our job now is to stop it, not to possess it anymore." And I mean, it's too late because it turns out the sword is. Oh wait, what we should say first of all, Halbrand is introduced to the southern folk, South people, and they're all like, "You're a king? Yeah, awesome." And
that's basically it.
I guess they were so desperate that anyone could just come up and say, "Yeah, I'm your king." Oh, thank fuck. Like, someone. I hope there's more than this village as well in the Southlands, by the way. Because if there isn't, man, you're a king
just
of like
a king of 12 people in a field. Yeah.
Like, there must be some more people out there. There has to be. Anyway, we've discovered that the sword is a key. And we see the innkeeper, he's near the Hoover Dam, and he unlocks the gates to this giant dam.
That's actually Paula Foca.
Oh, right.
Sorry. It's a better reference, Dan. Thanks.
Yeah.
Continue.
Okay, sorry. I think for just about everyone else, they probably get what I'm saying. And the giant mountain lake empties. We realized why the orcs were digging holes everywhere. It wasn't just to stay away from the dark. It was a way for the waters to be run towards Mount Doom. Though I think it wasn't called Mount Doom at this stage.
Would have been a strange name to give it. Yeah, just a mountain.
Yeah, nothing sinister there.
I got poor fucking. Is it Ontimo? Is one of Isildur's friend the guy who no longer wants to fight?
Yeah.
He's like, literally. Remember what he says specifically? They were like, "So what do you think of this place?" And he's like, "Well, it's I like their mountain."
Yeah.
Well, tough titties, Turkleton, no mountain anymore.
And you know what? I like that I don't get wet anymore. No water around here.
Yep. No water. It's nice weather. There's a lovely mountain.
Yeah. But we see all these streams of water like webbing their way to Mount Doom, and they're connected to like I forgot what's the term of the chamber inside a volcano.
The volcano hole.
You should have been a volcanologist. You said you weren't, but there you go. And we see a whole gush of water, and the lava does not like this. And there's a giant eruption. There's an ash cloud that's going across Middle Earth. Well, kind of Middle Earth. Some of Middle Earth, the Southlands, and we see that though Adar had lost, he won. He has now created a realm where his people can walk during the day without burning.
Yeah, he also escaped
the giant ash cloud. He did. He just kind of lies down at one stage in the barn, and the ash cloud comes in, and then as it passes, he's gone.
Yeah, it cuts back to where he was tied up right before the ash cloud breaks through the wall, and he's just not there anymore.
I kind of have wondered, do you like break himself through the wood and just like in the whole water slide down? Because we know there's like a stream underneath.
It's possible. Yeah, we don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, and that's so Galadriel is standing in the village. Though it seemed like a victory and things were great, things have turned on their arse. Giant cloud is just envelopes Galadriel. She just stands there like a fucking pimp. Like, she does not care.
She just stares directly at it. Yeah. Like, motherfuckers.
Do you want to close your eyes?
No. Another thing I have to kill. My God.
I'm going to kill a volcano. And yeah.
Well, and the orcs start chanting. Fuck, I'm probably going to get this wrong. I think it's Udun.
Udun, yes, the name of this episode.
Yeah, which is the name of the valley in Mordor.
Which was meant to be originally a lake as well, I think, before it was turned into a valley.
Well, yeah, we don't really know. It's theorized that it was created when Mount Doom was born or whatever, but nobody really knows. But you can see it briefly. It's not named or anything, but you can see it in the Peter Jackson movies. It's where the Black Gate is, essentially. The Black Gate is at the top of it. Now, Peter Jackson made Mordor a lot smaller, solely so that when Sam and Frodo are looking at the Black Gate, you can see the tower in the background.
Yeah.
Real world scale, it's much, much further away from the Black Gate than that is. Mordor is like a continent, basically. It's not like just a couple of miles square.
Man, can I have like the biggest confession? I hate how Mordor looks on maps. It's just like this little square of mountains. It's just like the least geographically correct thing. And I know we're giving now about geography again and science, but it just looks so wrong, especially because it seems like Sauron didn't have much to do with how those mountains were. I guess Morgoth probably did some work, but like in general, it's weird that it's built.
No, it was built like that anyway.
Walls.
It was already like that, and then Sauron chose it for his home because
but that's
it was
what I mean. That. But it looks like such an unnatural thing. It looks like someone made it. You know?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, Sauron made changes to it.
Yeah.
But he picked it because it was like that, and it was easy to defend, basically.
Yeah. And just when I think of mountains, I think of fault lines, and wonder what the fuck happened to that fault line. Just like,
hey man. Listen.
Anyway, I really adored this episode. I should we go on to our final thoughts, or should we just?
Yeah.
Fucking hated this episode. It was shite. I very much.
Not really much happened, I think, for me.
No.
Could have been more in it, you know.
Yeah.
I spent most of it just going, what are the hobbits doing? No, I didn't at all.
Yeah. Though I will say, for next week's episode, we see that not Gandalf, it's Gandalf, has a staff now. He walks around with at least a stick. So
can't bait a good stick, man. Can't bait a good stick.
Anyway, but what do you think of the episode then?
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, it was very good. Yeah, it was. I'm not as enraptured of it as I think you are. But it was a very good episode. Yeah, I liked it.
I hesitate to call it my favorite episode, but I think it's the episode that had the biggest impact on the show so far.
Yes. Yeah. That's a fairly. I'd say you could be fairly comfortable in the correctness of that statement.
But I mean, a lot of people complain about the show being slow paced and nothing's happening, and it's hard to keep track of names and that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I don't want to poo-poo anyone's sort of preferences, but I've been kind of enjoying the slow ride on this. I like storytelling that opens up in its own time. It's not a recipe where every episode needs a certain amount of this and a certain amount of that. Just tell the story,
Yeah. I get what you're
saying. Whereas I think this episode was hey, look, we need a little bit of action. Let's bring it in here. Let's have a bit of fun. And there were loads of nice, not the quote nods, but like the Rohirrim, the horse riding. All of that kind of felt more like the Peter Jackson movies rather than the rest of it feel more like the canons storytelling, general, this is why this happens, this is why that happens. This felt more like this is action, this is it's happening now.
Yeah, but it was even outside of all of that stuff, it was good TV. It was a good episode of TV. It was well put together. It was well shot. It was well executed. The fight choreography was pretty good. It was well made. It's not, do you know what I mean? You can clearly see they didn't just spend the budget on nothing. They knew what they were doing when, in particular. Well, I think in all of it, but in this, it's a very well made piece of television.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering what's coming next. I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of hobbits and
there's only 2 episodes left.
Dwarves. Yeah, that's depressing, isn't it?
Only 2 episodes left in this season, so
yeah. I imagine we're going to see some of Galadriel next, because I've seen some of the screenshot and like the shots for other episodes where she's in the ashes and trying to survive. But I imagine the next 2 episodes, at least the next episode, probably is going to be quite Galadriel light. Probably going to focus more on the hobbits and the dwarf and Elrond.
Yeah, probably. I think this is the moment where they give Galadriel. I don't think it's going to be the 2. I think maybe 1 episode where she's not in it really as much. Yeah. None of them are, because obviously Halbrand and everybody else is with her. So they're all kind of wrote off at the same time. Makes it easier than just taking Galadriel out earlier. I don't know. I don't know where they go from here. It's going to be interesting for me, I think, to see when we go back to Gil-galad and Celebrimbor and them, if they have any mention of a giant volcano erupting in the Southlands and covering the eye in lightning and thunder and ashes and stuff.
I mean, what's Elrond going to do? Because like Galadriel is his friend, and surely word has now reached them. Surely they didn't send the whole army to save the village. They must have sent out some messengers to say, "Hey, we're around, folks. We're just from Numenor, just coming over for a visit." You know, there surely would have been some diplomacy going on at the same time, you know?
Possibly. You'd imagine the Queen would have sent a messenger to somebody to be like, listen, come join us in the Southlands. We're going to go wreck the place. I mean, set up a puppet kit. I mean, hey.
Hey, the guy, the crazy beard's trying to overthrow him. What? But yeah. 2 episodes left. How many seasons did they say they do again?
I think they committed to 5 originally, but I'm not sure if that was 5 Lord of the Rings things. Like, I don't know if it was specifically 5 seasons of Rings of Power, if you get me.
Yeah. This season has had a rough ride with viewers. Do you think we're still going to get 5 seasons out of this?
Oh, God, yeah. It hasn't had a rough ride in numbers of people watching it.
Yeah.
Like, people are giving out, but it's fucking massive.
Yeah, but I still see way more giving out than positivity. And to be fair, Game of Thrones had, well, when it first started, had a lot more positivity around. Like, they have to be listening a little bit to that crowd. They can't just completely ignore it, surely.
I mean, I don't know. I don't see as many criticisms as you, to be honest.
I only see him. I mean, we literally have just a peek through the fourth wall.
Having said that, I did see, right, somebody made a post on the Wheel of Time subreddit this morning or yesterday and said that after watching how bad Rings of Power is, it's made them appreciate the Wheel of Time show more because it was like better. Now, in response, every single comment was, "You're an idiot. The Rings of Power is way better than the Wheel of Time did it."
And I mean, it is, to be fair. I know you're a Wheel of Time fan, but I think the Rings of Power show has done a better job at portraying its source material.
Yes, kind of. Yes, I wouldn't.
That's okay, because it's like, again, this is the second attempt at fantasy.
No, it's a better TV show. I don't know if I'd agree that it's better at portraying its source material, but it's a better TV show.
Let's not get into that.
It is a better TV show. Look, listen, I could go on forever. The Wheel of Time also had a lot of problems that the Rings of Power didn't. Thanks in no part to COVID and actors dropping out in the middle of the filming and just lots of things that the ending that we got was the only one they could have made. It was that, or they just like didn't do and they just didn't end the show for 2 years or something. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm on board. Let's see where we go. Come on, Nori, do something interesting, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I only ever see negative stuff. Maybe I keep in, the wrong kind of company, but I just really hope the show doesn't get killed in its infancy. That's all. That's
no, it's not going to be. They've spent too much money on it. It's not going to get cancelled. Like, absolutely not.
Yeah. Might be put on the back burner though for a little bit.
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay. Well, look.
This is Amazon's.
to hear it.
This is their big thing. Like this is.
Yeah.
I've never even seen them advertise anything as much as they're doing with this. Like it's everywhere. It's
To be fair, Prime in Europe is shy.
They've spent so much money on this thing. Like it's they're not just gonna stop.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, folks, we hope you had a good time listening to us. We hope you enjoyed the episode or not. Tell us if you did enjoy the episode. Maybe respond in the comments and don't just read our description and make up your own comments based on description and actually listen to our podcast. That's just to like one person who's not going to be listening to this, so don't even worry. Folks, have a wonderful week and we'll talk to you in like 4 days. All right. Bye-bye.
Asherlo.